Hello, and in today's video, we're going to be reacting to another video talking about how to get an entry level sales job. We're going to let them introduce it fully. I'm going to see if there's any similarities to the specific industry I speak on, which is remote, high ticket sales, working with info products, advertising agencies, service based businesses online. We'll see if there's anything we can take from it. We'll see if there's anything that is relevant or if there are some things that are very, very different. I'll be breaking that down in this video. Let's jump into it.
So you want to be a sales or business development representative. How difficult is it to get an entry-level BDR or sales job? That's what I want to talk about right now. Let's go. 5 months ago on Reddit, a user posted this question: how difficult is it to get an entry-level SDR/BDR job at big tech out of college? When I was first starting my sales career, I ended up with an SDR job at a tech company. And a lot of my friends have also gone that same route. So I want to talk about how hard is it to actually get a sales job. So we'll go point by point here. The first thing I wanted to talk about was education. It doesn't matter how much you learned in high school. It doesn't necessarily matter what degree you have. Anybody and everybody can get a sales job. As long as you can talk to people and get your ideas across, you're qualified, and it doesn't necessarily matter what college you went to or your educational background. That means
that's a huge point. First and foremost, what I stress to a lot of people, because a lot ask me, hey, how do I get a job with no experience? And I keep telling them, the less experience you have, the more what I'm about to say is going to matter, but it matters massively for anyone. It's all about communication skills. Can you get on and showcase that you're a good communicator, that you can, like he said, get your points across and sell yourself, showcasing that in your ability to sell yourself, you're going to be able to sell their products and services.
That everybody can do sales, which brings us to our next point, which is competition. Maybe your resume is good enough to get a job, maybe it's not, but because everybody can become a salesperson, competition is high. Some people, when they want to work at startups, they think about what skills they have, and they realize they can't be a project manager, or they can't be a designer, or they can't be a coder. And so if you want to work at Facebook or Google or one of these big tech companies, you decide that you want to be an SDR, you want to be a salesperson. And so those roles are flooded with applicants, so be ready for a lot of competition. That brings me to my tip of the video, which is cut the crowd. Instead of applying through the website, you can apply via cold email outreach to the hiring manager.
Massive, massive point here. I tell people this time and time again. If you are not reaching out directly in some way, you are missing out on so many opportunities, whether it's cold email, whether it's just cold calling the business and asking for the person responsible for leading the sales team, whether it's just reaching out to different contacts, HR, sales management, all of that on LinkedIn, Facebook, even Instagram. If you're not reaching out directly, you're just missing out on a ton of opportunities because you could be skipping the line. There's hundreds of applicants sitting and waiting in their ATS, sitting in Indeed, sitting on LinkedIn Jobs, sitting in the applicant pipeline. And again, maybe 1-2% of those people are going to go out of their way to reach out directly, which is a much smaller list, much smaller line that you can jump into and get noticed quicker. And just by nature of the fact that that sales manager probably checks their LinkedIn DMs far more often than they check their applicant pipelines. So you're just going to reach them faster. You're going to reach them where there's less noise, where there's less competition, and it's just going to up your chances massively. If you're not doing it, you should definitely be doing it.
Cold email or cold call the hiring manager of the company and pitch yourself. I can even show you a script that we used to get dream jobs for my brother, some of his friends, and I used a similar script to get my first job as a salesperson as well. And we'll throw one or more of these scripts up on the screen.
So let's take a look at this. It says, "Hi Joe, I was doing some research on content manager positions at New York startups. I noticed you're a manager at Betterment. I also checked you out on Twitter and noticed we both like that song, You Can Call Me AI. I'm on a quest for my dream job and would love to ask 3 to 5 questions about your experience working for Betterment. Would you be available for a quick chat over coffee this Thursday, 10 a.m.? I'm also free anytime Friday. Sincerely." Awesome. It says here, P.S. I'm sure you're busy, so if it's easier for you, I'd be happy to send my questions via email. So this is actually a really, really solid message, especially if you're not actively reaching out for a job post that you saw. If you're just reaching out generally to a company that you'd love to work at, asking for help, people are much more willing to respond to that rather than trying to make the sale, rather than trying to pitch, because this comes across way more as a networking conversation, which you'd be surprised how many business owners, how many sales managers, how many people pretty high up in the chain are willing to jump on, network, give advice, showcase their expertise. Everyone likes their ego stroked a little bit. So sometimes, especially if it's different when you're working with, like, you're trying to reach out to a coach or consultant, because they get paid for their advice. So it's a little bit different in that sense. But when we're talking about people that aren't necessarily getting paid for their advice, for their coaching directly, like a sales manager or a founder of a company that's not consulting, a lot of them are really, really happy to just jump on and be interviewed, be asked some questions, give some advice, especially if you're leaving a way out as well, not directly like demanding their time, but being like, hey, I'm also happy to just send questions over email. Thank you. Right. This is a solid message
right now, so you can pause and use this. Quick question here. How do you prepare for getting a job that you want? Let me know down below. Let's have a conversation about it. Another thing to consider is not big tech, which means instead of going for a sales job at a company like Oracle, you might want to go after a quicker growing startup or some other company where you can grow faster. Maybe the job is easier to get and you can get your foot in the door, build some experience before jumping into big tech. But if big tech is your dream, then don't let that disincentivize you. Definitely pitch. If you want to sell for,
especially if you're looking to, like he said, progress faster. If your goal is to get into like sales management, for example, it'll be a lot easier to jump in with a small company. Maybe you're the second rep, the third rep, the fourth rep, the first rep there, perform really, really well for a couple of years, perform really well, help bring on other reps to perform at your level, and then you just be the obvious choice to be a sales manager. I've seen people go from appointment setter to CEO of the company, appointment setter to president, appointment setter to sales manager very, very, very quickly at some of these smaller companies and make just as much as they would at some of the bigger companies at the end of the day. So really solid tip there.
Salesforce, you want to sell for Oracle, you want to sell for one of these big companies, then do that, definitely. But if you don't, then there might be more money to be made and more opportunity by going after a newly funded or a quickly growing startup rather than one of the FAMG companies. Manga is actually what it is now. Microsoft, Apple, Netflix, Google, Amazon. That's the manga companies. Another thing you can do is cold call. So I talked about cold emailing and cold calling a little bit, but I wanted to hound this a little bit more, which is you can call the directors of sales at these companies and hard pitch them on why they should hire you. This is the one role where cold calling the hiring manager is going to make you stand out apart from everybody else, because you're a sales.
Because you're literally showcasing what you would do if you were a rep in their company. No good sales manager will get pissed at getting cold called to become part of their sales team, right? You want to treat your role how you would treat leads in the business. You want to treat your role like you're selling your sales service to the company, because that's exactly what you're doing. The first thing you have to sell to get into sales is you. So do that. Follow up, scrape leads, find phone numbers, find emails, reach out, cold call them, email them, get it done.
Salesperson, now you're selling yourself to them. Instant hire. Come on. Use any number of lead generation tools to find the phone number and give them a call. Pitch them, and there you go. There's your interview. And the last thing to keep in mind is the pitch. Why should they hire you? If you don't have any experience, then you're going to be going on hustle. Nobody really wants to pay somebody who is there to learn. But instead of saying you're willing to learn, say you're highly trainable and position yourself in a way that gets them to hire you. This is your first piece of homework in your sales career.
And this is where adjacent experience helps a ton. That's why I tell people, go into industries that you know. instead of being like, I have no experience and I know nothing about this industry, I just want to get into sales, therefore I'm applying here. If you're coming from a background in finance, if you're coming from a background in in anything, if you played a sport, if you did this, whatever work you did, if you volunteered somewhere, go and try to get your first sales job at a company in an industry that you have an understanding of. If you started a drop shipping business when you were younger, go work at a marketing company that helps drop shipping businesses scale their ads, the Shopify business, whatever. You know what I mean? Like that way you have something to say instead of just being like, I don't have any experience, but I'm trainable. You can say you're trainable. You can say you're a hustler, but then you can also say, hey, I understand your prospects. I used to work in finance. I used to be, let's say I'm not me, but let's say you used to work in finance and you're like, I used to be an accountant, and this is actually someone I worked with. He was like, yeah, I used to be an accountant. So yeah, I can sell your finance coaching offer that helps people with budgeting because I used to be an accountant. Yeah, I don't, he doesn't have the sales experience, but he can land the role because he understands finance. He understands budgeting. He understands the actual product being sold, therefore he can speak to the prospects, the sales skills will come, right? So find an industry to get your start in where you can start building that track record based off of industries that you already know, you've already worked in.
How do you frame your entry-level sales skills as something they want? Luckily, a lot of these companies do want entry-level salespeople. What's cool about entry-level sales jobs is they have high churn rates, meaning people are coming in and leaving quick, within weeks sometimes within months. So there's always opportunities, and you don't necessarily have to pitch yourself that hard, but figuring out how to frame yourself is your first assignment. If you can't sell yourself, how would you ever be able to sell their product? If you want more detail about how to get your dream job via cold email, you can check out one of our other videos.
Cool. And that is the end there. I think he's got a cool video on how to get it doing cold email. We might check that one out because this was a solid video, had some solid tips. If you enjoyed this one, if you want more of these reaction style pieces of content going over some of these other, hiring sales tips in other industries, and we can kind of make the connections to the industry that we talk about here, comment down below, leave a like on the video, subscribe if you are new to the channel, haven't subscribed yet. And if you are looking for your first or next remote sales job, I run a software platform called Rep Select. Links are down in the description. If you go all the way to the bottom, you can find remote sales jobs. We vet them, we list them for you. We do a lot of research to make sure that there's solid companies only on our platform. And if you're looking to hire reps, you can also click down below, look at our list of thousands of reps, and start picking talent that you want to hire for your offers. I'll leave it there for this video. See you guys in the next one.